When you think about it, boilers are clever little appliances, but they still need to be told what to do and respond accordingly to your demand. If you have a combi boiler and your heating is no longer working, the first and easiest test you can do is to check the operation of the hot water. If a combi boiler works for hot water, then I'd say about 90% of that boiler is actually working fine, but for some reason it's not responding to a heating demand. If you have one of our older combi boilers installed that has several rubber buttons on the display, then it is possible to turn off the heating or the hot water. The first thing you can check if your boiler is not working for heating or hot water is to make sure that the tap and the radiator icons are visible towards the bottom of the display. If there is no radiator symbol on the display, the heating will not work, regardless of the setting on your external thermostat or programmer, because as far as the boiler is concerned, the heating has been turned off. Likewise, if there is no tap symbol on the display, the boiler will not respond to your hot water demand when running a hot water tap. Now, turning these back on is quite simple. So if you have found that this could be the reason for your boiler not responding to a demand, then long press the tap and radiator button until you see the tap and radiator icons appear in the display. The corresponding symbol will flash when there is a call for either central heating or hot water. If your boiler has a similar front panel to the one shown here and you're having problems with the heating, it could be an issue with an external control. To check this, all you will need to do is turn your timer and thermostat on to create a demand for heating, and then go back to your boiler and check that the boiler has received the demand. Double check that the on-off selector switch is pointing to the radiator and tap symbol. Now, looking at the circular digital display, if there is one, you should be able to see a small green light illuminated in the top left-hand corner of the circle next to the radiator symbol. If there is no green light illuminated, then as far as the boiler is concerned, there is no demand for central heating. At this point, I'd recommend rechecking the settings on your programmer and thermostat. If there is a green light illuminated next to the radiator symbol, then the next thing you can do is check that the central heating control knob is turned up. If it's too low, then the boiler may not fire up and heat your home sufficiently. Try turning the central heating control knob, which is to the right of the digital display, clockwise, and you should be able to see the numbers in the display changing. The higher you turn the control knob will determine how hot the water travelling to your radiators will be. A recommended setting for this to keep your boiler in its highest efficiency mode would be around 65 degrees. If you can achieve a flow temperature going to your radiators of 65 degrees or lower, providing you're happy with the temperature within your home, you're more likely to save money on your energy bills instead of having the central heating control knob at maximum, which usually stops around 80 degrees. A heat-only boiler relies on an external call for heat. To be quite truthful, I don't really know which mode they're firing up for, but as long as there is an external call for heat, then the boiler should fire up and the flow of water that is driven by the external pump will travel around the system to a point where the system splits for either heating or hot water. So if you have a heat-only boiler and you're having issues with the heating and the hot water, then it is quite possible that there is a fault with the boiler itself. However, if you have heating and no hot water, for example, then this would indicate a potential issue external from the boiler, which may not be covered as part of your appliance warranty. If you speak to your installer and explain that you're having issues with the hot water, but your central heating is working fine, then with a simple description like this, you have indicated to your installer that there may be a fault on the system. The boiler must be working fine as the central heating is still working. If you're having issues with the central heating, double check and make sure that the boiler is actually firing up for hot water. Now, just having hot water running from your taps does not necessarily mean that a heat-only boiler is still working, as the store of water within your cylinder may still be hot. Create a hot water demand and see if the boiler actually fires up. You may need to run off some hot water to make the thermostat on your cylinder call if it's already satisfied. On our latest range of heat-only boilers, there are 2 lights on the bottom of the boiler. If there are no lights illuminated, then there is no demand for heating or hot water. If the light on the right-hand side is illuminated, then this indicates that there is a demand for either heating or hot water. Once the boiler fires up, the light to the left of this one will also illuminate green, identifying that the burner is now on. Any red flashing lights indicate a fault and may need investigating if it can't be rectified by pressing the reset button for around 5 seconds.